All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going. Okay. Um, had a bit of a sideways session after the open. You can see they're just kind of chopping up and down a couple points on the S&P yesterday afternoon. Most sectors managing to finish in the green on the day, but broadly just a kind of a non-event of a session. We obviously had some big expectations for the day. We had the Humphrey Hawkins testimony from Bernanke that the minutes from the speech were leaked. Can you guys hear now? How about now? Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I think I had some sound issues. So we had the Humphrey Hawkins testimony. We had the minutes leaked ahead of time from Ben Bernanke, and then so we kind of had a bit of a rush, into some of the risk assets momentarily. But then I think once he spoke, markets kind of markets started to back off a little bit, and you really saw a reversal in commodity prices and things like that. And I think the markets think that he's maybe not as necessarily dovish as they did the last time. Some of the last times that he's spoken. So you saw the kind of profit taking and some of these runs and commodities and things like that we've seen over the last few sessions. Housing starts and building permits were a little bit weaker, a bit of a miss as of yesterday. Nothing that I think is going to change where that's going to go with the market, but something to pay attention to. Obviously, want to continue to pay attention to the data to see how long he's going to kind of hang around being this accommodative. All right, Asia. You can see it was a mixed session overnight. I think mostly stronger. Hong Kong was just only slightly down, and most of the markets I think most of the major markets were up a touch, but obviously very little reaction on the back of Bernanke. Didn't really give us anything new. Also said that the IMF overnight saying that risks are increasing, that China could fall short of a 7.75% growth target. I don't think that that's new news at all. I think the market's expecting them to not hit their growth targets, but I think the biggest worry around right now is fear of a hard landing. I saw a survey out from B of A, Merrill Lynch 2 days ago from all of their prime broking clients saying that over 75% of them, their biggest worry is a hard landing out of China. So, and then we had home prices out of China as well. They rose in all but one city, and I think like we said, it's going to be difficult for them to come with stimulus and that kind of thing's going with their housing market at the moment. All right, we had a ton of data out today, ton of reports out today. Vodacom was out earlier with their quarter one sales release. We had group revenue up by 3% at 17.5 billion. That was a slight beat. Expectation was for 17.04 billion. Group service revenue was also a bit of a beat. Those are over Standard Bank's expectations of negative 1.5%. That came in at positive 2.3%. Also, data, they said, was one of the strongest points of people continuing to use more and more data with smartphone usage, was up 28.2% versus expectations of 24.5%. Voice was a miss, came in at 1.6%. It was expected at 2.4%. So mostly, I think, better from that point of view. We don't have anything in terms of expectations for ARPU and contracts and prepaid, but you can see there the ARPU numbers were down 0.8%. I mean, I think last quarter they were down like 9%, so maybe that's not as bad of a number as it may seem. Contracts, you can see their contracts are really shrinking. I think they're also losing some. You could see their churn rate was up a lot in their numbers as well. I think they're losing a lot of contracts to Cell C, and their prepaid was up small at 1.4%. All right, Amplex also had their production report, second quarter production report. Group equivalent refined platinum production up 2%, 594 kilograms. We also had refined platinum production that was down at 7% at 582. So, I think I don't think there's going to be anything exciting to happen out of that. Where they already had their trading statement a couple days ago. Then we also had Kumba production report. Was down 1% year over year and 9% up quarter on quarter. Total sales volumes for iron ore was down 17%, obviously probably on the fall in the iron ore price. We'll get to you some more numbers a little bit later out of Anglo's and some of their comparable numbers from their trading statements and production reports. All right, we've got a lot of broker upgrades and downgrades out of JP Morgan. We had Trueworth that was raised to overweight versus neutral. We had Clicks that was raised to neutral versus underweight, and we had ShopRite that was cut to underweight versus neutral. So obviously JP Morgan's pretty good at getting markets to move, so pay attention to those today. Huge reporting out today out of the States. Probably one of the biggest days and some of the biggest names between yesterday after hours and today. You can see after hours there we had IBM that came in as a beat on the EPS number, as a small miss on the revenue number, but markets seemed to be quite happy with it, and they were up after hours. Intel came in line in the revenue or in the EPS number. Missed on the revenue number. I think the share was slightly off after hours. Amex was a beat in EPS, a miss in revenue. I actually didn't see what that one was doing after hours. And eBay was in line on EPS, a tiny miss in revenue, but I think they weren't happy with the sales growth there in some of their comparable numbers, and I think it was down about 5% after hours. So generally a little bit weaker earnings reports after hours yesterday. You can see there's a small discount on S&P futures this morning, so that's maybe carrying over. I think it's going to be important. Maybe in the next couple of days, I think you'll start to see the market reacting to the bigger picture on what's going on with earnings. So I think this next couple of days are really important. We got BlackRock, United Health, Union Pacific, Danaher, Philip Morris, Morgan Stanley, Verizon, Google, and Microsoft all out today. So it's another monster day on the earnings front. All right, market data out today. We had Swiss watch exports that were down 3.1%. Month over month. I think that there was some. If you saw it was a year-on-year number. If you see the breakdown in the numbers, there was huge skews everywhere. So I don't know how much you can read into it, but I mean the overall numbers, the most important thing, obviously, down 3.1%. So maybe Richemont could struggle a little bit today. We also have retail sales out of the UK. We got initial jobless claims later in the States, which will be the big one, and then we've got local interest rate announcements. We don't expect them to do anything here locally today, but there's been some surprises around the globe, so we'll be focusing on that at 3 o'clock. Then we've got Philly Fed later in the States and U.S. leading indicators. All right, let's jump into the maps. Okay, first thing I want to have a look at is spot gold. I'm going to zoom forward a little bit here just to have a little bit more of a close-up look. There's been we had talked about these levels in the gold price coming up to test this resistance. And really I would peg resistance at 1285. We did manage to get above that, and yesterday we kind of traded up to the top end of this little consolidation range where we really kind of made that next leg down from, and where we've kind of spent a little bit of time in the past maybe week and a half worth of sessions. Couldn't hold on to those gains, couldn't take out 1300 even for a tick, and we failed, and we're back below this sort of no man's land that we have here on the technical. So I think it's to be honest, it was quite a weak effort out of gold. I think the gold market was really hoping for something of Bernanke to give it some sort of support. It didn't get anything. I think there's a little bit of hot money on there trying to catch a nice bounce back up to the breakdown level here at around 1350. Wasn't to be, so you can see we've given it up this morning, and I think below resistance again, which is important. Okay, let's look at Nedbank. Nedbank, I just want to show here this level at 177, actually a hell of a big level, which we managed to close above yesterday. We did close up a couple bucks in the auction, so really everything that it got above 177 was a close up in the auction, but we'll not pay attention to that for the moment. You can see how many we bottomed here, we closed there, bottomed here, bounced off these levels so many times, opened here and traded higher, and then when we were below, we've just been below. We came back up, we touched it, we tried to get above it this one day, we closed right on it, and we haven't literally been above this level going all the way back to May. So you can see here, I mean, this is important that we've gotten above 177. If it can hold it this morning, I think Nedbank could go higher from this level, but just realize the importance of this 177 level. If we do get back below it, I think the share will probably obviously come lower, so just watch it around 177. It could be a big inflection point here for Nedbank. All right, we'll look at Anglos. Anglos had a great little run the last few sessions. What I wanted to show here is kind of the resistance that we're coming up to test. You can see how perfect that that line is, and how we touched it kind of running across before we broke down. We were on that when we broke down from there. This is really important because we're coming up to resistance here at about 210. You could draw this level if you draw it from the closes. That level maybe even comes up around close to 214. So somewhere in that range, 210 to 214. I personally think it's probably worth fading it. It's been one of the dogs of the market here, and I would think first test there it would be a decent little sell, but just keep an eye on that. If we get up there the next day or two, I think it will struggle, anywhere north of 210. I think we could see Anglo starting to really struggle. All right, Vodacom, I'll back out here a little bit. You can see on Vodacom on a closing basis, we broke out yesterday, not just on a closing basis, but also, from the wicks, we've also broken out. Either way you look at it, I think it's really important because this thing has been such a dog for such a long time. I actually did end up shorting some in the auction, but I knew that I had the sales numbers today. But I think really important to see what this thing does after it has made this breakout today. If it doesn't drop below this resistance today, then I think we probably will see higher levels out of Vodacom. Even though I think fundamentally this stock's really going to struggle, technically it's starting to look a little bit better finally. And yesterday it looked like we saw a little bit of a switch, out of MTN and into Vodacom. In fact, I would say that we've kind of seen that over the last 2 days. You saw really big volume on the sell side, MTN around 185. The guy was there all day. You saw really big buying the entire day out of Vodacom, probably 3 times average daily volume. So to me, it looked like a real switch going on. Don't know if they were really buying it for the earnings release, but I think this is important that we've broken above this level, and we'll see what that does today. All right, let's look at Goldfields. Goldfields, you can see here, really kind of, let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit more clearly. But this level here has really been the inflection point, kind of somewhere between 53 and 54. On a closing basis, it's really been 53, but I think at intraday basis, it's been 54. And you can see here from where we broke down from, I would say is right around the 55 level. So I think anywhere between 54, 55 is kind of going to be the real resistance on Goldfields. If we're able to kind of pierce through those levels, this thing could start to run up a little bit. It's been trading, I think, the best out of the gold miners as of recent. And you can see the platinums are finally starting to get a little bit of a bid here. I don't know if that's going to go away today with the fall in the gold and the platinum prices. But just watch these shares. If they get back up there, and they start to fail again, maybe a nice little level to play off of on the short side. But if it does get through, just be wary of that. We can look at it quickly on a 30-day, and you can also see how important this sort of level is on an intraday basis at 54 has really kind of been the level, and we kind of have just been grinding up to that smaller and smaller pullbacks off of the level. So today's action could be could be key there. All right, let's look at Tiger Brands. Tiger Brands is another is one of these longer term trends that's really been intact, going for months, almost 3/4 of a year now. We finally got the breakout yesterday, which we've been looking at this one over and over every time we get up here, and it just fails and it fails and it fails. Yesterday we finally got this breakout, and I think that this thing could really have quite an enormous move off of this. If we actually want to try to get an idea for how big that move can be, we can go back and we can look at the veracity of the potential move that could be coming here. And we've been in this little consolidation, little wedge pattern here, building for almost a year and a half on Tiger Brands, and I would say that we could easily trade up $20 to $30 from here at the least. So Tiger Brands could have some monster room to the upside. And then the last one I'll show is Google. In the States, Google broke out here a couple sessions ago. We'll take it from the close. And you can see here just really kind of consolidating above this previous closing high back in May. We've just kind of been chopping around in a maybe $5-6 range and Google, and it feels like we could be consolidating for a reasonable push higher. Obviously, we've got earnings today, so this is big. You're going to want to see what happens in earnings today. Whether the support above 917 or below 917, I think you'll find out today on earnings. It could be a nice move one way or another from there. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.